sometimes this is a funny game, and as you probably know, philosophically, the Spin-Off, which is a real trendy lefty website run with government money, lots of government money, and lots of friends of Jacinda Ardern work on the Spin-Off. It's sort of the BBC for wokesters in New Zealand. Well, the BBC's for wokesters anyway. It couldn't be more philosophically separated from the platform and what we do and how we see journalism. I mean, it is worlds apart. But you know what? I'm leading today with a story that is in printed form on the Spin-Off, and I'm actually giving you a recommendation. You should go and visit the Spin-Off page. This story is free. Well, you've paid for it with your taxes anyway through the Public Interest Journalism Fund and all the other grifting that the Spin-Off does. But their founder, Duncan Grieve, has written a piece called Why Auckland Museum Pulled the Pin on Hosting a Hit Harry Potter Exhibition. Now, you've got to be living under a rock not to know who Harry Potter is. In fact, he's almost... Were you a Potterite or whatever they call it?
No, never got into it. Could never do it, really.
What were you, Ben? What?
I would say, what, in that sort of ilk? Star Wars?
Okay, that's right.
Sort of sci-fi more than fantasy.
I was Thunderbirds. Okay. But huge franchise, and it spun off this thing called Fantastic Beasts, a series. But also, J.K. Rowling, and I cannot figure out why, perhaps because she's slightly morally conservative, J.K. Rowling has been on the internet branded what's called a TERF, a trans-exclusionary radical feminist. And J.K. Rowling has been trolled around the world by the rainbow community and by the likes of Chanel Lau and his mates, the international bullies who try and cancel people and use social media to beat people up and pillory them and literally destroy their careers, in some cases hound them to suicide. But this exhibition called Fantastic Beasts, The Wonder of Nature, had been offered to the Auckland War Memorial Museum, which is a council-run, I didn't realise this, Auckland City Council-run cultural institution. And it is important to note, too, that the Auckland War Memorial Museum is Rainbow Tick approved. So it has to be diverse. And the grifters at Rainbow Tick, of course, have got their people in the organisation, and they will tell on organisations or people who aren't being rainbow ticky enough, rainbow friendly enough. Anyway, this exhibition is offered the management of the museum, and it's a cultural institution, so they're always broke. They do some analysis, and they do a survey of people, 500 people, and they say, geez, we're going to be able to charge like wounded bulls for this exhibition because there are so many Harry Potter fans of a certain age who would just love it. And it was predicted, the most popular exhibition at the Auckland War Memorial Museum. It might have got them out of financial stook, or certainly made things a lot easier for them. But then, and this is what the article lays out, and because it's really taking it really shows how evil the woke are. Duncan Grieve doesn't put a lot of commentary around it, but he's clearly got all these internal communications. And basically, two people in the organisation scared the entire management of Auckland Museum into pulling out of the Fantastic Beast, The Wonder of Nature exhibition. It is a remarkable and I think a really chilling story, and I commend Duncan Grieve for telling it, and I think all New Zealanders should read it. It is the sort of culture, the rainbow diversity, fascism, the culture of cancellation that New Zealanders voted against at the election. This is the best example I have seen, though I have lived through some cancellations myself by this crowd, or attempted cancellations. This is the best example I've seen of the madness of the culture wars. So because J.K. Rowling was a TERF, it also came during the Posey Parker visit. And because there were some gay or LGBTQI RSVP activists at the museum, they basically made the place scared, bullied, I would say, the place into changing its mind, which is in no one's interest. And this rubbish has to stop. And I'm going to make a call this morning, having read this story. I think the rainbow tick, I think the government, amongst saying that we should be able to understand what language we're using in government departments, I think the government has to forbid, because of the dangerous culture that it creates, I think all government departments, Crown-owned agencies and agencies of state must withdraw immediately from rainbow tick diversity programs. You cannot have an outside agency of activists bullying public institutions, which is exactly what's happened here. So I'm calling, and I will try and talk to people and raise this with people. I think, and maybe it's David Seymour, the Minister of Regulation. I don't know how much money. I mean, the rainbow tick people make a lot of money off this grift. I think we've got to say no more rainbow tick if you're anyway Crown or state associated. We do not need it. You do not need a bunch of cultural bullies inside your organisations telling you what to do. And the other thing I've got to say, and if you own and run a business, what that business does, as long as it's within the bounds of the law, is up to you. And you might want to bring your staff with you, but the idea that collective decisions are made by everyone or there's something wrong with your culture is just BS. You know, it's just BS. And I'm amazed at the culture in Auckland Museum that, we've got to have all the staff loving what we do. Because basically they were joining a pile-on. So, I don't know. I think it's a really good story. I recommend you read it, though. It's not a great work of prose. It is just the communications that show basically how the Emperor had no clothes and no one called it out at Auckland War Memorial Museum. First thing I do, come up with a snappier name.